Hi everyone, welcome back to the Gabber Spotlight. Today we're joined by an incredibly inspiring young advocate, Reema. She is a high school student from Cumming, Georgia, using her voice and her experience to raise awareness about scleroderma. So Reema, thank you for being here today. Let's start off with you telling us a little about yourself.
Sure, Lori. Thank you so much for having me today. My name is Reema Dusmili, and I'm a high school senior from Cumming, Georgia, interested in the medical field and passionate about making a difference in the lives of scleroderma patients, a disease that my mother has been bravely fighting over the past 3 years. Therefore, it has become a mission of mine to hopefully find the cure one day. When I'm not working towards the day where we can find a cure, I love watching and playing sports, specifically basketball and cricket. I also love to travel, which has allowed me to understand different cultures, perspectives, and their ways of providing healthcare.
All right, thank you for that wonderful introduction, Rima. So, um, probably the people here are all wondering because Rima, like I said, she is a young advocate of scleroderma. So, how did your passion for raising awareness around scleroderma started? Like, what sparked you, or what sparked your mission to make a difference in this cause?
Yeah, so when my mother first got diagnosed with scleroderma, I was filled with fear of what would happen next and how our lifestyle would change as it did. It changed drastically. As time went by, I researched a little bit more and more about what scleroderma actually is, and I knew something needed to be done for more people to understand what my mother and patients like her went through each and every day, as it can be extremely taxing on both the patient and her surrounding family.
All right, thank you for that. It must have been very hard for you, right? And I hope you're still comfortable to talk about this. Would you?
Yes.
All right. So I think as we go on, a lot of our viewers, a lot of the people who are watching this may not be familiar with what scleroderma is. So can you explain what scleroderma is and how it affects people who have it?
Yeah, sure, definitely. So, scleroderma is an autoimmune disorder that brings about inflammation in the body. Symptoms include thickening of the skin, fatigue, and even Raynaud's phenomenon, where the patient's fingertips lose color and turn blue. It's a disease that only impacts about 100 to 300K people in the US, which makes the disease to be very rare. And it impacts both your physical and mental activity and lifestyle.
All right, thank you for that. You've definitely taken your experience and turned it, how you experienced it with your mom, and turned it into something so impactful, especially for someone like you who's so young. So, what was it like when you first decided to speak out and become an advocate for scleroderma patients? I was just wondering, like, okay, so you've probably experienced this and that. It was probably painful at first. It was probably hard for you at first. So what was it like when you started like speaking up and talking about this, becoming an advocate for scleroderma patients?
Yeah, as the more I learned more about what my mother was going through and what certain things that would happen to a patient like her, the more that I realized that the change needed to occur. One, I would tell someone that I knew that my mother has this, and they would be like, "Oh, I didn't even know that that was a thing." And that made me think, how come people don't know something of a disease that's just as strenuous on the body as some other painful diseases in the world? And knowing this, I knew that there needed to be a change for that because we can't have people that are suffering so much not be known to the world of what they're going through.
All right. Okay, so yeah, so since you are a scleroderma advocate, I think people are wondering what have you done so far? So before I even ask you, all right, so can you tell us what you've done so far in relation to scleroderma? I believe you've organized a walk, you've done research papers. Yeah, okay, can you
Yeah, yeah.
explain that?
So my mother and I, when we first got her diagnosis, wanted to do something to advocate for this cause. And that's when we came across the National Scleroderma Foundation. And we saw that the foundation had many options to donate, become a champion member, learn more about scleroderma, and even talk with other people that have scleroderma. So we eventually became champion members of the foundation, and later on realized that we had the opportunity to do something more, and that was to create a stepping out walk. So the National Scleroderma Foundation has these stepping out walks that people can initiate all throughout the country, where they can create a group of people to initiate a walk to raise money for donations. And when we saw the impacts that the walks made on people's lives, we knew this was something that we needed to implement in our community as well.
Wow. So you were able to kind of like organize like that level of scale for scleroderma awareness. Okay. So um yeah, planning an event like this, probably, especially like a walk, right? Those are pretty big events. How was it for you? Like, I believe you need to balance your school, you need to balance your extracurriculars, and you're doing such a big initiative. So, what were some challenges you faced when you were organizing the walk?
Yeah, so when it comes to planning the walk, it was definitely hard, that's for sure. Because there's just so much that needs to be done, whether it be, not just a walk, but any event, a lot of planning, time, and commitment needs to go towards it. And for this walk, you need to be like gathering sponsors, thinking about how the event agenda is going to be, supplies that we need for the attendees of the walk, and all of those things to make the walk such a success. So since it was hard to focus on all of these things, we figured that it would be best to have like a little committee of people who had lots of experience on these walks, where we could all work together and talk about how we can make this event more special and memorable. And we would plan on meeting every once every few weeks to catch up on how certain things were moving along in the process of planning the walk. And I felt that really helped us keep us in track on what to do and when to do it, and even how to do it. Because when you're surrounded by so many other people, it gives you a lot of help and support. So it was difficult, but it was definitely fun at the same time working with others. And when it comes to balancing it with school, like I said, it was making sure we had these meetings every few weeks and making sure to take time out of my day for those specific meetings and making sure that I keep a checklist of all the things that I need to do before the next one.
Okay, so yeah, I was just also wondering, I was imagining this in my head. Probably getting sponsors for an event like this must have also been challenging, right? Like, how did you go about reaching out to local businesses or even organizations to support this cause? Because this is a bit massive as well. So, like, how were you able to come up with, sponsorships?
Yeah, so it was definitely extremely difficult because you have to send in a lot of requests and then you usually don't get responses too quickly as well. So it was important that we had like a sponsorship package ready, like sort of like a pamphlet that we could forward to businesses and give out to them, so that way they can see how much they would like to donate based off of that. And there was like different levels if they donated or the one to sponsor this much, they would have their name on our t-shirts. Have our name on the walk flag at the beginning of the walk. So all of these things and incentives to help them sponsor the event. And then when it comes to local places, you don't know who's actually willing to sponsor. And if they are, they always say, oh, check their website and follow the process. And then when you follow the process, it takes even more time to properly get an answer on whether or not they're going to do it. But once you slowly get the hang of it, it becomes a lot easier in getting those sponsorships.
Wow, I'm glad you were able to score some sponsorships because this is a really worthy cause. Okay. Yeah, so I was also wondering, how was it like? What were the components of the team? Was it like a very diverse committee of people? Like, are there different people from different backgrounds? Pretty sure, right? So, if that is the case, then how did the experience working with people from different backgrounds, ages, right? So, how was it like?
Yeah, so as I stated before, we had a committee and it was around 5 to 6 people, I want to say, and we were all different ages. I'm obviously a teenager. Two of them were in their late 20s, early 30s, I believe, and another woman in her 40s. And there was one woman specifically that was a lot older than all of us and probably in her 60s, maybe 70s. So one thing that was definitely beneficial is that when you have different people coming together, it's interesting because we have so many different unique ideas on how we want the event to go about. And it's all about different experiences from planning events like this. Especially, like I said, the woman that was in her 60s or 70s, she's planned multiple of these events before. So it was very grateful and awesome to get ideas from her on how this event should be planned out as well. And we also have, yeah, like I said, different experience. And overall, it was just a wonderful experience being able to get insight from so many different people and working together to create something as big as what we did. Because at the end of the day, we want to continue doing this. We want to continue creating more walks, spreading more awareness. And it's good to have one under your belt for your experience, and so that way you can just keep on growing.
All right. Wow. Yeah, it must have been very inspiring as well. Like really learning a lot from different people, from someone who's even 60 years old and above. So I was also wondering, I'm trying to, really visualize how it was like in the actual walk. It was, I'm thinking it must have been really probably emotional and rewarding. It must have been emotional and rewarding on your end in the actual day, in the actual walk. So, do you remember what were some of the standout moments for you during the event, the emotional moments?
Yeah, so we're talking about what happened during the walk itself. The walk took place at the beginning of the event after a little speech that was done by our CEO. And we also had some outdoor games for kids to play after the main event was done. And we even had a raffle to where we gave tickets to each person who attended, where they could purchase tickets to purchase more tickets inside. And winners of the raffle were awarded gift baskets. And we also ended up giving medals to the group that accomplished a lot leading up to the walk, whether it be through donations or volunteering. And all of these things were presented towards the end of the walk when everybody was done, and just relaxing and having a good time. So when it comes to emotional moments, I would say at that end where we were doing all these things, giving thanks to everybody that came, I think that was specifically really emotional, especially when our group got a medal for raising the most amount of donations. It felt really emotional to see that there were so many people behind me to help my mother and this cause of scleroderma to bring more awareness to it. So I thought that was really great. And it was definitely an emotional moment. Receiving the medal, having to talk about what my family has been through over the past few years, it was definitely an emotional moment there.
Wow, even I right now listening to your story makes me a bit emotional about it. Yeah, it must have been, especially because it's very personal to you. This cause is very personal to you. So you know what? Having been through this entire journey, how do you think this experience has also changed you? Like, how did it impact you in a personal level?
Yeah, so this experience made me realize that my mother and her family weren't alone in this battle. There were others who were going through the same thing, maybe even worse. But this event really helped us getting to talk with these people and communicate with them how life was like with this disease, which gave me so much more insight and understanding of what my mother was facing every single day. And this experience essentially made me more patient and calm when it came to my mother, as it made me realize the importance of understanding her properly in every situation rather than quickly getting into silly arguments. But yeah, I mean, being able to see what and talk with other people who are and other family members as well who are going through this disease, it was amazing because I got this opportunity to meet um, a woman whose mother had scleroderma and recently passed away. And she was the sister of the person that I worked with, this 65 and 70-year-old woman. It was her sister that ended up dying a few months back through scleroderma. So just hearing from her how it was from her daughter's experience and just understanding that and realizing that these moments are precious, we have to do as much as we can to let this awareness go out to the public. So it was an amazing experience for sure.
Wow. Okay. Ooh, thank you for that, Reema. So I'm gonna kind of like shift gear a bit and kind of ask. It was really a wonderful story, and I'm inspired listening to you right now. Like, wow, it must have been very difficult for you, and yet you find strength in that pain to actually be an advocate for this kind of cause for scleroderma patients. So you did a walk, right? You did that walk. It was very inspiring. And now you're going to transition. I want to also shift gear a bit because I know that you're not just doing walk, you're also doing a research. What is your research again about?
Yeah, so I researched over this past summer about the physical limitations of a scleroderma patient from a more personal perspective from my mother and just seeing how she went through it. And I got the opportunity to do so under a professor from the University of Central Florida. So it was a really good experience.
Mhm. So what do you think is the biggest takeaway when it comes to, raising awareness for scleroderma? Why do you think is it important, especially for the younger generation?
Yeah. So I would say the key takeaways was that scleroderma is a hard disease, and it's obviously a very rare disease, which makes it a little bit harder for people to understand. Um, Patients can also be extremely different when they're diagnosed and complete opposites to their true selves. So understanding that that person may not be the actual person that you've been used to being around for the past few years, that knowing that is extremely important in understanding the patient. But no matter what, how hard it may be, as a family, we must be able to support them and understand them through the pain and fatigue that they have to go through. We have to be able to stand as a pillar of support for these families that have scleroderma patients, no matter what. And now, when it comes to will there ever be a cure or something like that? Maybe, maybe not. But we have to keep aiming for that to make sure there will be a day where scleroderma doesn't impact the person as much as it does today.
Wow. Okay. Rima, before we wrap up, if there's one thing you could tell everyone watching about scleroderma, what would it be?
I think I would like to say to just go and give a hug, not just about scleroderma, but to anybody. If you know someone who's dealing with scleroderma, go ahead and give them that hug. Ask if they're okay. Talk to them about how they're feeling, and make sure to be in a state where you're able to understand them fully. And from there, that's when you start to make an impact. It doesn't matter how old you are. If you want to make an impact on something, you have to put forth your entire efforts to bring that change to a reality. And that's exactly what I did. And from that experience, you can learn so, so much. And it's not just about the disease, but rather just about life.
Wow, thank you, Rima. That was so inspiring, honestly. Okay, so I'm also going to shift gear a bit because probably people here don't know about you that much, but you're also like I think we've given you a background that you're a high school student, but you're also preparing for college admissions. So as you worked on your college applications with Gifted Gabber with us, how did the support you received from us kind of help you highlight your passion for scleroderma awareness and also shape your personal story? Because this is a very important aspect of your life, and I feel like it should also be, part of your college application as well. Not because, just to add it, but really, I believe a highlight of college application is really showcasing your whole self. And this is a very important part of yourself, your scleroderma advocacy. So how did you think the support from us kind of help you flesh that out as well?
Yeah, I think the thing is with Gifted Gabber, I think they do a really good job at really trying to understand you as a person, where your passions lie. And for me, I don't have an older sibling. I don't have any siblings at all. So not knowing how the college process works is extremely difficult for people like me. So in that case, Gifted Gabber really helped in terms of creating that personality of mine when it comes to letting others know about my passion. So obviously the ideas and everything about how to do it are mine, but I think the support and really trying to put it out there has to go to the credit for that has to go to Gifted Gabber.
Aw, thank you, Reema. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for sharing your story with us. It must have been very personal, but thank you for being so open about, sharing it to more people. And I hope I just also want to thank you for your passion, your commitment to scleroderma awareness. It's truly inspiring. And I really hope, and I know for sure that the listeners right now, people who are listening right now, people who are watching this, would surely be motivated. And I do hope they get inspiration for you. For anyone watching, be sure to check out how we can get involved and make a difference, just like Rima. And yeah, Rima, keep up the amazing work. And we look forward to seeing all the future impacts you'll continue to make wherever you are. Okay? Thank you,
Thank
Rima.
you so much. Thank you.
Bye.